Welcome to Gray Reload. I'm Anthony, and AMD has announced the RX 6000 series GPUs. With this announcement from AMD about Big Navi, we finally have AMD what looks to be as back to be competing in the high end. Now, these are with AMD numbers, and only time will tell if the software stack all adds up, and as well as where the GPUs line up when we get a whole bunch of more testing on it, either from users or other reviewers. And that's what I'm waiting for as well. But AMD's numbers, I will take a look at today, and we'll see where they kind of land. I don't know how much they actually show on their webpage here, but let's take a look. I did watch the entire event. It was a good event overall. AMD kept it short and sweet, and that's what more people should do. Let's not have these long events. Let's take 20 minutes, a half an hour, get the event over with, and move on. Let's get more to it. Now, AMD could be more forthright on everything and maybe tell more to the media, but I think that this whole trickle drip information is what's going to keep on happening, because companies do want to control the narrative at least a little bit with their cards. So they do show the RX 6000 as a power front of graphics. AMD said that they want a 4K gaming, and they want to bring that 4K gaming to everybody. And that's what they kind of post here. So the 4K Ultra, and they have all three here, the 6800, 6800 XT, and the 6900 XT all lined up. And here's the quick rundown between the three GPUs. We start with the 6800, and they have 60 compute units. They also say 60 ray accelerators. I'm guessing that they're going to be kind of the same. They didn't really mention too much about the ray accelerators in their announcement, but they have a game frequency of 1815 on the 6800, and it can boost a maximum of 2150. And then this is also going to be 16 gigs of RAM and 128 megabytes of Infinity Cache. And this Infinity Cache is pretty cool overall. It actually helps make the effective bandwidth much faster than just having straight up memory. And this is based upon the Zen 3 L3 cache structure, just optimized for gaming tasks. So that's pretty cool that they're taking some of the CPU design stuff that they had and rolling it in. Once we move up to the 6800 XT, we get an additional 12 compute units, so up to 72. A little bit bump in game frequency at 2015, and I think that's a max of 2250 boost on there. And then you're also getting the 16 gigs of RAM and 128 megabytes of Infinity Cache. Then you can jump up, and if you want the graphics card that has it all from AMD, that is going to be the 6900 XT. And when that's 80 compute units, 2115 megahertz boost, 128 megs of Infinity Cache, and then max memory of 16 gigs. And I believe this boost is also 2250. So if we click on learn more, that might have been a bad idea. Yeah, kind of a bad idea. But let's go back. Let's compare specifications. That's what I want to do. So overall here, they kind of go through and announce a little bit. All these are going to be two 8-pin connectors across the board. So 2x8 pin on your additional power connectors. They do support Linux and Windows. They were announced today. They have a little bit about, your peak texture fill rates, pixel fill rates, your teraflops. I'm not going to focus on the teraflops. I think that teraflops don't really directly relate to gaming, and since I'm focusing a little bit more on gaming here, it doesn't really make much sense. ROPs in the top two cards, so the 6900 XT and the 6800 are both 128, 96 on the 6800. And of course, you got a few more streaming processors as you go up. Those are related to the compute unit. So about 64 streaming processors for every compute unit. Your texture units are also varying a little bit differently. Not too much that I would be too concerned about it. The transistor count, though, on these GPUs is quite impressive. 26.8 billion transistors on this CPU. I was very impressed by this. Now, GPU power overall is 250 watts for the 6800, and the 6800 XT and the 6900 are both 300 watts, as you see here. Psu Recommendation, so if you have a 750 watt they recommend that for the 6800 XT. And then if you'd like to have, if you go down with the 6800, that's a 650. And I don't know why they have an 850 watt for the 6900 unless that just gives you more headroom. But since they have a GPU power as the same of 300 watts between the 6800 XT and the 6900 XT, I don't know why you need a bigger PSU over there. But yeah, I have a 750 and I would feel fine with throwing the 6900 in there or in this computer. So they have basically the same Infinity Cache, same memory speeds, same amount of memory, same bus, same memory bandwidth. A lot of the stuff is the same around here. That's just the same chip, just all cut down. Now, one interesting aspect is that 3900 that Nvidia released is a massive GPU. This one, however, from AMD looks like it's gonna be normal size. They're all 267 millimeters, and it's 2.5 slot. The 6800 is a 2 slot. So you get that benefit too, where if you're trying to fit this into an existing system, you don't have to go and buy a new case just to be able to, use the card. So that's a little bit on here. Oh, and these have HDMI 2.1, I think as well. That overall, the specs were kind of in line with what the rumors were, and the rumors were right. So that's great, right? The rumors are great there. Release date on these is the 6800, and the 6800 XT is November 18th. So get your pre-orders ready. I'm not going to tell you not to pre-order, right? It's your choice. I should not be a gatekeeper of your money, right? Nor should any reviewer. But if you want to go spend the money, go ahead, right? It's your choice. Now, if you want to wait for reviews, feel free. But these are probably going to sell out. Now, there's rumor that these have more stock than what Nvidia has. But from what the stock I've heard of what Nvidia has, it's not too hard to do that either. The 6900 though, overall, that's going to be December 8th that it comes out with, and the prices. You probably are wondering about the prices as well. And the 6800 here, well, I guess I'll go to it. This is going to be $579. So, yeah. A little bit higher than the 3070, but I think it also fits in between the 3070 and the 3080 a little bit. Then the 6800 XT, I'm actually surprised they don't have more of their benchmarks on here, but this is going to be $649, so $50 cheaper than the 3800. And then we have the 6900 XT, and that is $1,000. So $500 cheaper than the 3900 or the 3090. Ooh, hopefully I got the other ones right. These graphics cards and their names are confusing me. But yeah, so this is gonna be $1,000 there. So yeah, it's a chunk of change. I personally am not willing to put down $1,000 for a graphics card. I probably go with the 6800 XT. I think that's kind of the sweet spot for me. But I could easily see you choose the 6800 if it comes out and it's more significant than 3070. So they had a little bit about the Infinity Cache here, hardware accelerating visuals. Let's talk about the Dfinity Cache for a second. I think that this is pretty cool. Now, this is oh, did it take me to the right page? Yeah. So Infinity Cache here, and this is a good little blurb about it. You can get 256 bit of GDR6, 16 gigabytes per second. Wow, that is a tongue twister a little bit there. Then you have 384-bit, 19.5 gigabits per second GDR6X, and then you have the 256-bit. So the first one, 16 gigabits per second of GDDR6 plus 128 megs of an Infinity Cache. You can get quite fast. Now, that Infinity Cache is going to be right next to the chip. Very easy to get through there to do it. And if they can feed the Infinity Cache right, it's going to be great. Now, the hardware accelerator ray tracing, that's going to be one per compute unit. So that's going to be on each compute unit. So in the whole compute unit, it's got one more thing in it, which is going to be this ray trace accelerator that specializes for ray trace intersections. AMD didn't say anything about ray tracing, which was kind of interesting, I feel like they should have mentioned more about it, but they did not, and that's a little concerning of where that's going to stack up. And RTX is different than ray tracing. I don't know if how many things are specific to RTX that aren't ray tracing, and that might be one downside to it. AMD FX fidelity, we'll get into that. There's a lot of stuff with DirectX 12 and the visual pipeline. AMD worked close with Microsoft, right? There was actually a blog post from Xbox here out this afternoon after the AMD announcement. Kind of goes hand in hand. I'm guessing AMD wanted some stuff out before they got out with this. Now, this RDNA 2 is going to have all this open source collection of technologies, which, if you're going to use, I'm guessing the councils are going to use some of this stuff, and maybe not DirectX related, but the AMD Fidelity FX, and then you have the DirectX 12 Ultimate, which is probably going to also be used by the councils, so, or at least the Microsoft one, and then you got Sony's one. And if you're both developing on AMD hardware, both RDNA 2 based, both Zen based, you can start to see where I'm going with this. The translation to the RDNA 2 GPU should be quite good, and I'm excited to see that. Now, game streaming accelerated. AMD did not mention anything about this either, and during the event, and which I think is fine. But having another video out there or something, maybe I missed it and I didn't get to it yet. But the streaming world comes in the latest form of demands. So as AMD says here, it looks like they either have the same decode or improvements, but they're showing OBS here 23. I'm hoping they have something more for being able to take off and compete with some of the features that Nvidia has with their game streaming, you know, their mic improvements, their being able to take the background away. People are asking for that, so hopefully they do that. But they have modern setups here, embracing by industry standards. So you have HDMI 2.1, which I'm excited when my new monitor gets it. I don't have plans to order this graphics card yet, but I'll get to that in a little bit. And overall, you know, AMD performance per watt too. I should do that. They're saying 50% more performance per watt over RDNA. So each generation they've kind of jumped up. And if you get the 6900 XT, I believe it's around like 64%. They beat their goal. They're trying to shoot for 50 each generation here. And with all this, you know, there's a lot of effort put into this for AMD to try to get going and compete at the high end here. Excuse me. Let's just jump over to this AMD Fidelity FX. So they have maximum fidelity, and a lot of the stuff here I'll go through. This Fidelity FX is kind of a lot of the DirectX 12 Ultimate stuff, a little bit of improvements on, I think, even on top of that overall. And this package is going to be, I probably in some ways going to compete with DLSS and some of the other technologies that Nvidia has out there, and puts them in a package that can be open source. And overall, I really hope that the open source part takes off. Not that, you know, it's, oh yeah, AMD's going to have it. No. I want, you know, Intel to jump in on this, Nvidia to jump in on this, have it open so everyone has the same ability to access and go implement these features. And we don't have, you know, walled off games where you need a graphics card in order to enable something. That's not good for the gaming ecosystem at all. But they have contrast adaptive shading, ambient occlusions, variable rate shading. You know, you got your screen space reflections, denoiser, other solutions. They even mentioned on one of their slides someplace, and oh, if I can find it, I'll scroll through this, and if you want, just pause the video to read what these adaptive, sharpening techniques, you know, the ambient occlusion. I will post this link below so you can actually click and drag. For some reason, when I was clicking and dragging, it was jumping all over, so I don't want to give you a headache over it. But the variable rate shading, I think, is going to be one I've been waiting for a while on from AMD here. Space reflections, denoiser, cleaning up the noise in the image, which is always good. Fidelity FX downsampler. Optimized compute shader, single pass downsampling, generates textures. HDR mapper. Some of the developers taking advantage of it, which is quite a few of them here. I know that they showed off what did they show off? They showed off Far Cry, World of Warcraft, and Godfall. I want to say today. Yeah, I think those are the three games that they showed off. And AMD did also announce a Rage mode. You know, that's a one-click overclocker. One thing, oh, this is a huge announcement. I totally missed this in my notes here. I'm looking through my notes, making sure I didn't miss anything. For some reason, I put this at the bottom of my notes. Um, Full access to GPU memory with smart access memory. So this is um, uh, this goes through, and you have to have a 5000 CPU, a B or 550 or X570 motherboard, so a 500 series motherboard, and you need one of these three GPUs. Then you can have smart access memory, which seems to be like up to a 10% bump in performance on your game without even getting developers involved at this point. So that is a pretty big deal. If you enable it with Rage mode, you can get up to 13% increase of your games. Now, Rage mode is a one-click overclocking the software, so and it doesn't void your warranty. So it's pretty much something you should probably turn on if you want that extra performance, because it's pretty much kind of free performance as the way I see it as. And there it kind of increases, I think, the power budget. I think somebody said, which fine. I'm used to running a Vega, which can suck a whole bunch of power, so this seems like it's probably gonna be less than that. Then yeah, let's switch back over to here. But you know, they have direct storage is coming, so Nvidia is getting Nvidia IO, which uses DirectX storage. So that's coming where you can go from the SSD to the GPU. That's awesome, AMD. You have latency reductions they kind of announced, kind of improving the pipeline. Yeah, these GPUs, the performance numbers look promising, right? They look like they're going to compete. Looks like the 6800 RX 6800 is going to be better than the 3070. Looks like it's going to be toe to toe with the 3080 versus the 6800 XT, and then it looks like the 6900 is going to be able to compete with the 3090, and that's a good thing. We need the competition. Hopefully it'll start driving down prices. These prices aren't as cheap as I'd like them to be. Obviously I would like to only pay $500 for a GPU, and that's kind of where my high end is normally, and these are all above that. Now, if I was building a computer today, I'd probably go with the 6800 XT and just bite the bullet, because I would like something to play 4K. I got a Spectrum monitor, the Eve Spectrum monitor coming here now. It's going to be in February, and I like to take advantage of it, right? The 4K one there, and that's what I would do. Now, one thing I do want to mention is AMD said, I believe at a financial event, that the graphics cards would be the first RDNA 2 you could buy. That is no longer the case. The consoles are. So if you pre-order console, you will have RDNA 2 before these cards release, because it's November 18th that they're going to be released here, and then you can purchase them, and maybe there's a pre-order, but you can purchase them and get them into your house and use them. So a little bit later, but not too much. Now, November 5th is the Zen 3 announcements, so you can get that. So, you know, it's a busy month. You got, well, if you can find an Nvidia GPU, you could add an Nvidia GPU, but you can't really find one right now. Now, if you have an all AMD system, they're starting to take advantage of some of the things you can do uniquely with an all AMD system. I'm not a huge fan of all proprietary stuff. Like I said, I like the open source side of things. But let's say Intel has some of the same access down the road in their chipsets. This is going to be a great option that can be enabled, and maybe it's something that even Nvidia can enable down the road. I believe it's a protocol that everyone kind of knows about. I don't know exactly yet. I haven't looked that deep into it, and I'm still waiting for a little bit more information, like architectural wise, on these GPUs and how it all works. So you also have to say the launch is a lot of marketing, right? They want to trickle feed this out. You know, reviewers will get out their data here in a little bit. I would like to see reviewers, you know, get the stuff here soon after, then come out with it. Keep it going, AMD. Don't have long lulls in between them. your announcements and then your releases, and make sure that you're putting all the fine print detail you need on the last couple slides. I've gone through them, and I wish that there was more. I wish it was a little bit cleaner, so that we could really know what systems were used, how they were used, and how we could basically, so we can easily replicate them and test to make sure we're verifying your results. Um, Overall, if I was looking at a new system right now, if I was going to do something, I'd probably build a whole new system. I have a Threadripper now, and it's just getting to the point where everything that AMD has done, I can move to the mainstream part, get that 500 series motherboard, get the 5000 series CPU, and get this 6800 XT. That's what I'd probably go with here, and be able to play 4K games, be able to do all my video editing, everything like that. The 16 gigs of RAM, I think, is just something Nvidia is going to be looking at and saying we have to answer something to this. If AMD is competing with the 3080, there's some feature sets that, DLSS that may make you want to jump over there. But if that's something AMD is going to do, that's going to be a wash. I personally am not a huge, not really that into ray tracing yet, not into that DLSS yet. I think the technology's still got to mature a little bit before I am gung-ho and jumping on the bandwagon. I like to take a little bit softer approach with it. Let's gradually go into this before we go. I think maybe that's just me being burned with too many technologies that have failed over the years. But if you slowly let this take off over time, I think ray tracing is going to be where it's going to be at. Only time will tell to see how long that is. But right now, more games need to support it. It needs to be supported by every card out there. And as the consoles come out, that's going to be more and more prevalent because there's no Nvidia in the consoles, right? So you got to support the AMD product as well. And if it's open source or, DirectX like Microsoft is, you can see more of that coming. Now, there was a mention of super resolution. Now, there's super resolution in AMD drivers. So is AMD changing that technology to maybe compete with DLSS? There was hints of that in some of the stuff I've read up on. We'll see. But overall, I like where AMD's at. I think AMD did a great job here. The whole team there at AMD getting back into the market of high-end GPUs and being able to compete. You kind of put Nvidia, I think, in an interesting position with the 3080. The 3070, I don't know if it directly competes with the RX 6800 at all. I think you have the 3070. If you can get that for 500, that's probably a pretty good deal. If you want to take a step up, then if AMD's numbers are correct, a step up would be that extra $80. You could get the 6800. Then you could take the next step up, and it happens to be the one they're competing with is not the 3080. 3080. It's going to be the 6800 XT. It looks like at that 650, but it has 16 gigs of RAM. Got the Dfinity Cache. So where does Nvidia really put that 3080? I think Nvidia's going to answer a little bit on these cards. Maybe not next month, but at the turn of the year, you kind of will think that AMD might or Nvidia might adjust their pricing. Might even go and change a little bit of, maybe put a TI out or something else. We'll see. They have to. I think they have to do something in that section now. The 3090, I don't know. I don't think that's going to change. Even if AMD competes with both smart access memory and Rage both enabled, that is questionable about if Nvidia would do it because it's their high-end card, got 24 gigs of RAM, and AMD only has 16. So now Nvidia has the RAM advantage as well. But if you're looking to game 4K, I think long term that 16 gigs is going to be much better than what is it 10, 11 from Nvidia. And then the 8 gigs of RAM on that 3070 was just, I think it was a bad idea. I think they needed to start with, I think they should have made that the 12 gig card and then made the 3080 like 16. But that's what I would have did. That's not what Nvidia chose, and maybe it was the wrong choice now looking back at it. But they can correct it, right? They can release something else and move on. So with that, let me know what your thoughts are on this. I'll be waiting for reviews. I want to see what they are. I'd love to be able to test one of these, but like I said, if I was going to go with it, I probably want to get that smart access to test it out. Um, that's just the way I think about these things. I mean, my Threadripper is a 1950, so it's getting long in the tooth. If I had the money, I would definitely upgrade. I don't have the money to just drop on a whole new, I have to get more memory, but so I'd have to get 4 components, and I just don't have the money to do that right now. But I will be looking at reviews. Maybe I'll do a video after the reviews are out, see how either impressed I am or disappointed after that. But overall, from what AMD has said and all their numbers, I am impressed where they've come from and how they're turning their company around overall. You look at Zen. Zen was a great progression. RDNA seems to be a good progression. I'm guessing CDNA is also going to be a progression. And hopefully Nvidia can answer, get some more competition for us, make it better on us gamers so we get more choices. AMD's got to round out their software. Whoops, I guess somebody's trying to get in contact with me. But AMD's got to round out their software. And we'll see where it goes. Maybe Intel might even join the realm of graphics card. I believe, what was it? Another company, Imagine Technologies, was going to come out with the graphics card. Who knows? We might have a few more to choose from here in a couple of years, and that could be fun for us gamers. So with that, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I really like to listen to your thoughts, what you guys think about it. I was impressed by the event. I like short events. It's much better than ones that go on for an hour. I wish that a little bit more of the graphs and stuff were on the web pages that we looked through, but you can find those in a few other sites as well. And until next time, I want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for taking the time to help support Gray Overload and helping this channel grow. I really appreciate it. And until next time, God bless, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.